I mean, out of all the acquisitions I've done, Ken Goodrich said earlier when he was on the podcast, he said, hey, I only have a handful that I kept on the employees. And there's a few things going on. One is that sometimes when you acquire a business, one of the big reasons that they want to sell to you is because you're going to be good to the employees and keep them around. You got to be careful on making those deals because sometimes, as Ken said, if it's a broken business and it's not making any money, a lot of times it's because you have broken employees. Usually the employees make up the business. Now, sometimes it's just bad leadership. They're good employees, but the bad leader, the bad owner, didn't know how to drive them properly, didn't know how to incentivize them properly, didn't know how to pay them well. In that case, you're getting rid of the owner anyway. You can keep a lot of them. It's been my experience as well that we lose a lot. But, I mean, if I look at it, that people in my company like David Oroso came from the Marthadal acquisition. John Baird came from the Mitchell acquisition. Gabe, the dispatcher, came from the Verns acquisition. We have people in the company that are, longtime employees that came from acquisitions. We have technicians and things as well that, and installers and field staff that have. The problem is a lot of times they were good people, but they weren't necessarily. They were held to a lower standard for a very long time, and they would have been great employees. But then when you come in and raise the standard, now all of a sudden they're like, I don't want to get paid the same or maybe a little bit more and have to do, double what I was doing before. So that previous business ruined them. That owner ruined them. So in a lot of cases, I don't want to make a judgment of whose fault it is or anything else, but in a lot of cases, you're going to lose a lot of employees. And if the company was running great in the first place, they wouldn't have sold to you in many cases. Sometimes they just want to retire and get out, and I've had a few of those as well. If you have to let them go, I'd say do the compassionate thing, which is like do it right away. Don't lead them on and carry them on and whatever, and then they start getting expectations, and now you're not explicitly lying to them, but you are lying to them because you're making it seem like they're going to be around forever and have long-term things. Additionally, people start building relationships and all that stuff. You have to keep the human element there. Then it makes it harder when you do have to let them go. And so I do it fast. It just doesn't make sense to delay it. Now, in many cases, though, I would give them an opportunity. So, hey, we've got this new pay plan. We got this new structure. Here's the expectations we have. And some of them just need to know that, and they're good to go. And they're going to work out. A lot of cases, that's not the case, but that's all right. Give everyone the opportunity, and then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. There are some acquisitions that I've done that we go in and the company's losing a ton of money, and we're keeping it open, and I've got to fix it. And they could have been great employees, but there's just no room for them there anymore. And those are the hardest ones. Those are the ones where I'm usually looking at like severance packages and other things to like say, hey, look, we appreciate it, but we can't do this. But in those cases, like I've got to move fast. We had one where I was sick and couldn't get to the office, and I had to do one over terminate a general manager over Zoom. Now, granted, it was a general manager who was supposed to be running the company, and he was running it into the ground. So this was definitely his fault. But I had to do it fast because the company was tanking. So I think that's the right thing to do. I remember my mother told me this story. I had an employee that just wasn't working out, and he was trying really hard and doing everything he could, but he just wasn't performing. And she said, you got to do the compassionate thing. You got to let him go. And I said, why do you call it compassionate? She said, Tom, he could be working in a better business, in a business that not necessarily better overall, but like better for him, that meets his skill sets and the things he's good at. And you're withholding him from getting into that business because you're keeping him around at your company. She said, do the compassionate thing, let him go, get him onto better things that are better for him, and move on. And I realized, man, that's so true. Like, it's just something that's really hard to accept.